The following is a list of Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held for a demand of income. The demand of income is being made against the family as well as through fraudulent submissions of documents alleging that they are caring for the people in some sort of long-term care fashion. These Moors have been kidnapped literally off the street by employees of various corporations that are guised as counties, cities, towns, township, boroughs. These names that we have all been mentally conditioned to believe are government are not. They are exactly what they say they are. They are municipal corporations, and as such, they, if you do the research, you will find that they are foreign corporations on American soil. Therefore, they do not have standing nor jurisdiction to make a demand of income or even bring a claim against the Aboriginal indigenous people or any people on American soil, this making their actions criminal. However, as Moors, we must bring these crimes to the forefront via civil complaints against these unalienable constitutional treaty-secured rights of the people, Aboriginal indigenous Moors of this land. If the municipal corporation has been provided, then we reference that along with the union state. If we don't have the municipal corporation where the employee works that actually did the kidnapping, then we just reference the union state that is bound and obligated to protect the people from foreign and domestic invasion. This list comprises Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held hostage by employees of various corporations on American soil, which is a violation of the American Constitution 1791, and it is a treaty violation, being that we are talking about Moorish Americans, Aboriginal indigenous to this land, who have been kidnapped by employees of foreign corporation on American soil. This making this an international issue because you have two nations with one nation warring against another. Therefore, this is an international issue. If you have a family member near or far within your immediate family or one of the family that you know and you would like them added to this list, please send an email to MHHS Eyes Wide Open at gmail.com. In the subject line, put Kidnapped Moor, and please provide us with their free national appellation, the municipal corporation that the employee is operating through that kidnapped them, along with the union state that this corporation is in purview to. We start off with our sister, RVBey, kidnapped through a joint venture between Mantis and Shelby Corporation under the purview of Tennessee, Dawood Ill under the purview of Arkansas, Amir Muslimin Ill, Kusu Ra Kush Bey under the purview of Missouri, Asar Patah Amen Ra Bey under the purview of Ohio, Jeremy Paler Ill, Terry Thorne Bay, J. McCall Brooks Bay, Joseph Kanaday Ill, Kush Amir Bunch Ill, Emmanuel Billings Bay, Yassin Khalik Alamin Ill, Michael Curry Bay, all under the purview of North Carolina, Noble Crisco Ill under the purview of New Jersey, Messiah Aziz Ill and Crystal Ill, both kidnapped through a joint venture between Mercer, Freehold, and Trenton Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. Still waiting on an update regarding baby Patricia, or the baby of Patricia Bey, kidnapped by the Atlantic Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. Eldridge Terra Fisher Ill and Marti Sevion Ill under the purview of Indiana, Solomon Ill Bey and Mumi Abu Bey under the purview of Texas, William Barrett Ill under the purview of Virginia, Chere Bey under the purview of West Virginia, Thomas Lee Bey under the purview of California, Victor Eduardo Avalle Juarez Ill, kidnapped by Harlem Corporation under the purview of Georgia, Natural Tohudi Ill, kidnapped by Benner Corporation under the purview of Pennsylvania, Brian George Mills Bay, kidnapped by Blades Corporation under the purview of Florida, Judah Ill and Anwar Ill, kidnapped by Philadelphia Corporation under the purview of Pennsylvania, Ramor Ill, Amada Ill, both kidnapped by Chester Corporation under the purview of Pennsylvania, Iman Ill, kidnapped by Lynchburg Corporation under the purview of Virginia, and Khalid Albert Ill, kidnapped by Las Vegas Corporation under the purview of Nevada. Thank you very much.
All right, Islam, and welcome to MHHS Eyes Wide Open. This is your host, Anita Ill, along with my co-host, Ms. Raheem Alice Ill.
Peace and love, Anna E. Peace and love to Moors, everybody listening. Indeed. Glad to be back.
All right, RVBey.
Islam, peace and love to all.
And Cujo Atwa Ill.
Islam, peace and love, Morris.
Islam, Cujo. First Tuesday, man.
Yes,
we all here.
Yes. Welcome back, Cujo.
Yeah. Give thanks, appreciate it.
All right. Before I get started, I have, I think, two announcements that I need to make. The first announcement is regarding the call-in number. For all those who have Metro PCF, they have decided that when you call into the Blog Talk Radio in its multiple lines, they are classifying that number as a conference call, and they are, I think what they're doing, if I remember correctly, they're trying to get you to send further notes to join a, quote, conference call. And that is if you call the 3-4, hold on a minute. Let me just go to my notes. That is if you call the 347-945, I'm sorry, 425-569-5201, or the number that you see, on the front page of the Blog Talk. I think it's 319. I should know it because I have it in my 319-527-6751. If you call 319-527-6751 or 425-569-5201, you will not get in if you have Metro PCS, because they have classified these numbers as a conference call, and they're attempting to inform you. The only number that you can call into and get in is 347-945-5899. However, it appears that they have only delegated like 20 lines to that number, And that's because that number, Blog Talk is trying to phase that out. It's another carrier. So, unfortunately, if you have Metro PCS, there's only 20 people that can call in, unless I'm mistaken, because they won't let you call the 319 or the 425 number. They totally block it. You have to get additional finance. It's not cool, but that's what they did. I don't know Metro PCS in where I am because where I am, they closed down all Metro PCS. They closed them all down, the kids' business in this area. I don't know what happened. I've never had Metro PCS. I only know that because a friend of mine had Metro PCS. So I don't know what that is about. I don't know what I don't know what Metro PCS is all about. I can only tell you that I don't know what else I don't know what to remedy this situation except
change the
that
carrier.
Maybe you might want to look into another carrier. For example, I use Straight Talk, and I don't have a problem like that. Now, Straight Talk is $45 a month. It's unlimited everything. I don't know what the plan is with Metro PCS, but I've had no problems with Straight Talk. It's a no contract. Bring your own phone, port your number, and but now here's the thing: you can only get this through Walmart. For those people who don't have a Walmart near you, there's Walmart.com. You can get, because what you do is you purchase a service card every 30 days to go on an automatic refill. If you don't have a Walmart near you, you can go right on Walmart.com. You can purchase the 30-day service pack, or you can just sign up for automatic refill. That's the only thing I can suggest you do, because I don't see Metro PCS changing their plan. In fact, to me, it sounds like they're trying to extort more income from you for a service that maybe is supposed to be unlimited. I don't know. But as it is, because of and they just recently did this, and I'm noticing that there are more that are having a challenge getting in. I've spoken to a few of them, and they don't know what's going on. That's what's going on. And like I said, I don't know how you're going to remedy it, but that is a suggestion. The only other thing that you can do is listen to the broadcast after. When it's archived, the only challenge with that or the problem with that is you won't be able to join in the conversation. We really would like for you to be able to join in the conversation. So unless there's another carrier that you might want to switch to, or if you really like Metro PCS and you don't want to switch, I don't know, maybe you can try to negotiate something with them. The few people that I know who did try to negotiate, they were sticking to their guns. Give them more finance, or either give them more finance, or you're not going to be able to join any type of conference call, or you're not going to be able to call into anything that has multiple lines because they're classifying it as a conference call, and you have to have some conference call package. So that's what I was told. And, of course, that conference call package doesn't come with whatever you have now. So I just wanted to relay that to you because I got a call from somebody or a text from somebody, and they have the Metro PCS service, and they said they couldn't get in. The lines were full. At that time, we only had 20 people called in. Of course, it filled up afterwards, but we had only 20 people. But their recording said that the lines were full We have way more than 20 lines. So,
but they say the lines are full, and if you want to get in, call this other number where they're getting paid.
That's Metro PCS.
Only Metro PCS is doing that.
We thought it was Blog Talk, Metro PCS. I think, and I don't know. I don't know what else. I don't know what else to
There's no other answer
to advise you except to check
Change
into another carrier, because that, to me, that's extortion. So I wanted to make sure and say that right off the bat. I know I had a second message, but I can't remember what it is now. But it'll come to me in a second. Tomorrow is the fourth Wednesday of the month, and tomorrow's the first Wednesday of the fourth Wednesday of the month, and we'll be back to reading our book, White Cargo. So make sure and prepare, be ready. I heard a lot of people downloaded the book, ordered the book, has been reading the book, been doing some research, some gathered from what they had read and the research they had done. It's amazing, some of the things that have been said in this book that are absolutely 100% relevant to what's going on right today. And we were on a conversation earlier where we discussed some of the things that were brought up in that book that is affecting people right now, today, on American soil. So do listen in. If you don't have the book, you can go to, I think I uploaded it on the moorishnews.wordpress.com website maybe 2 Wednesdays ago. So you can go there and download it. If you didn't, I'll be uploading it again tomorrow. So,
that kind of segues into what we want to talk about. Go ahead.
well, before I get started, I want to let everybody know that the chat room is open, all right? And big shout-out to family all across the planet Earth, specifically those Moors who are in the Moroccan territory, because you do know that the Moroccan territory goes from what they call near the Canaan land or Canada all the way down to the Caribbean islands. So all of that is Moroccan land, all right, or the Moroccan portion of the Moorish Empire. So for all the Moors around the world listening, the Moors near the France Corporation, the Great Britain Corporation, Japan Corporation, South Africa Corporation, Netherlands, Philippines, Panama, Bangladesh, Mexico, Venezuela, Brazil, Cuba, Mexico, and to the family that we have yet to connect to all around the world, NAIR, various corporations. Thank you for listening, joining, participating, sharing, sending us your energy. Peace and love to you, and peace and love to our callers. Thank you so much for calling and persevering through this whole issue with Metro PCS and finding workarounds. Thank you so much for joining, participating, sharing your energy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So with that, today's broadcast, if you haven't seen it, is entitled Sister Standing on Law Comes to MHHS Eyes Wide Open with pertinent information relative to nationality and lineal descent line of the Moors. So this is an experience that we have been having for some time. Now, before we get into it, I just want to premise this with how this whole war battle kicked off that is going on today. Because a lot of people think, oh, it's the war against the sun. Oh, it's the war against so-called black people. Oh, it's the war against Americans. Oh, it's the war against Africans. Oh, it's the war against African Americans. It's a war against gays and lesbians and whatever. It's just a war against everything and anything but the right thing. So let me go back and give you a little bit of information. Way back when we first kicked off this amazing creation that was created, Mother incarnated, and she created this European daughter, and she created this son. It didn't come from Mother. So you got the Mother, you got the European daughter, you got the Asiatic son came out of Mother. Well, the European daughters agreed to hook up with the Asiatic son for one reason and one reason only. They thought that if they hooked up with the Asiatic son, the Moor, that their offspring, their egg, would be able to inherit the estate of the Moor. When Mother made it clear to them, because that's who would be making it clear, that would never, ever happen, the European daughter became enraged. This is where the Daughters of the American Revolution comes out of. They became enraged because they felt that their child should have a shot at the seat of the nobles, and that's never going to happen because it's all about bloodline, and they are not of the same bloodline. So these modern Europeans waged an all-out war against Mother.
Hello.
So if you didn't know, this whole war, it doesn't matter how it's played out, is against Mother. Because the European daughter thought, in her thinking, if she eliminates Mother, then her child, her egg, would have a shot at the seat of the noble lord. Now, it hasn't been very successful, but they have become very, very insidious over the eons of years. Yeah. And so they have enlisted in an untoward way the aid of the Asiatic sun. Yes. And it's happened across the board. It ain't just happened on this Moroccan American soil. This is happening all around the world. If you go back through the history, you will find it. You will find the beginning of it. Law says that inheritance cannot be bought, sold, or transferred. These modern European daughters have figured out an insidious way of transferring inheritance from the Moorish family to the modern European family. These are two human species. And it is done through them getting a noble son, because, see, back in the day, if you go back in the history, it's not a bad thing, but it had limitations. These European daughters, they had their offspring, their eggs. The one thing that they would run behind to ensure was that the son would acknowledge their offspring. In acknowledging their offspring, that European egg would have a much easier existence. But they took it too far. They then, because you know when pillow talk go on, a lot of stuff can change. And it has. They have been able to convince these Moorish sons to acknowledge their egg as the next heir to various thrones around the world. As soon as that happened, the son, just like Pocahontas, mysteriously died. Transfer of inheritance. Now, I've been talking about this for a very long time, not because I'm trying to make Mother seem like Mother is more important. She is the important one, but she's the one that's bringing the life here. She is, just like they said on, what is it,
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, the movie with, oh my gosh, it's right on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember the name. It'll come to me in a second. But in that movie, they talk about, the golden chalice. You thought the golden chalice was a cup? The golden chalice is her.
The womb. Yeah.
Right? Because you have to understand that everything comes out of Mother. So she's the prize. She's the one that has to be preserved and protected at all costs so that she can bring the next generation in, hitting the floor running. That is what has to happen. Doesn't take away from the sons because, if we look at the history, the sons made sure that happened. But everybody has been compromised. And within all of this compromising, these modern European daughters have been creeping further and further into our space. They can never take the place of Mother because they don't have the full DNA, but they can cause some great confusion in the process. And that's what Ron and I have been experiencing with a few European daughters, specifically one this week, that we just felt we had to bring this information to the table to show you how enormous this whole thing plays out when we talk about nationality, bloodline, and lineal descent. We did a broadcast where we told you this DNA, 23 DNA, and ancestry DNA, and all of these people, they're playing you. They could never tell you about the DNA, but you could if you found yourself, because all of that science comes from us. If they knew that much about DNA, they would fix themselves, because they are becoming an extinct species. They are not repopulating. That was on the front cover of a newspaper last year. Just about 2-3 weeks ago, there was a whole expose done on the whole DNA fraud. Because, number one, the DNA is not even accurate. It's based on where people are today. And they allege that people are coming from, percentages of people are coming from corporations. That should have been a red flag. Red flag. I wish I had that video that Cujo put together with the sister. Red flag.
Yeah, that was hot.
Red flag.
Red flag. Flag on the plate.
That's what it's called. That's what it's called on YouTube.
I know. I'm
Oh, wait a minute. Wait, he's telling you that's what it's called. It's called a red flag.
It's called a red flag. I'm going to find it. That should have been the first red flag. The second red flag is when they said it's based on where people today, and they're telling you that your DNA is a percentage of a corporation. Third red flag is that the DNA comes from a swab as opposed to blood, which basically is spit. They're taking your spit, saliva, and they're saying they're doing a whole DNA workup. Fourth red flag. If anybody paid attention to Jurassic Park 1, they told you in there, we don't quite understand this DNA thing. And they don't, which is why they plugged in a portion of the DNA from another species into the dinosaur and then created a third species that they had no history on because they just created it. And so they were feeding this dinosaur a specific chemical component so that it would not reproduce, because they were all supposed to be be females. Yes, they didn't take into consideration that portion of the DNA from another species. Once they plugged it in, it enabled that dinosaur to spontaneously change from male to female, and now they have a population issue that they can't control. I said all of that to say they don't understand DNA. They tell you in movies. They also tell you in reports. But we have to be savvy enough to read these reports. That was the fourth, I think, red flag. The fifth red flag.
They're taking their DNA.
They're now, the fifth red flag is this. And this was exposed in this report that I just happened on about 2-3 weeks ago. They're just collecting your DNA.
Oh, yes.
They're telling you anything you want to hear. And you're paying them $200 and up to give them your DNA, which they then sell to research and development institutions along with so-called statute enforcers. They call them law enforcers. Law enforcement, really statute enforcement, and these agencies are cataloging you on one end, and the research and development companies are using your DNA that you voluntarily gave to them to find a cure for their lack of population problem. And it doesn't matter if you sign, because there really is nothing to sign, but even if you sign it, it cancels it out because there is in the verbiage of the contract, it says by putting this in the mail, you now have given these research, this ancestry DNA 23, 1, 2, 3, whatever they're calling it, you have given them the right to your intellectual property, which means they can do any damn thing they want with it. They can sell it to anybody, and you can't say jack because it's called a hold harmless, and you signed off to it once you put it in the mailbox. And they did a whole expose on that. So we've been telling you, these modern Europeans, they are very insidious in trying to steal or give the appearance of stealing your estate. This is inheritance, cannot be bought, sold, or transferred. I don't care how much you don't want to comprehend the enormity of that. Inheritance cannot be bought, sold, or transferred. And we got modern Europeans beating down our doors, damn near being rude because there are Moors out there who have told them otherwise just because they got a little tan. And it's like this particular rooster has come home to roost in a very, very serious way, because you have to understand, if you don't understand this, you've got to understand this at all costs. These modern Europeans don't have anywhere to go. They're not aboriginal, indigenous to planet Earth. So they will be as ruthless as they need to be to steal anybody's estate, because they have no place to go. And Abdullah made that clear, I believe, last Wednesday. He said that they like to say to us, y'all need to go back to Africa. And we fix our tongue to tell them, go back to Europe. But Europe is not their home either. So he said, don't say that. And he's right. They don't have a home because they're not aboriginal, indigenous. They're not even, they're calling themselves indigenous, but they're not even indigenous to planet Earth. So they're going to do whatever they need to do to steal the vast estate and turn the truth about biology around to their advantage. And we Moors, have to be ever watchful and vigilant, because they're not taking any prisoners. They're coming to take you out because they don't have no place to go. And I hate to say this, but a lot of you sons, these European women will do whatever you want them to do. And it's not that you're not wonderful, because you are. But their objective is to get you comfortable to the point where you accept their egg as the heir of the estate. Write it down. Put your mark on there. Thumbprint, all of this other stuff. And then they will take you out because you're no longer necessary. That's history. That's not any saying anything. That's history. Because this is serious. This is life and death for them. They have no place to go. So we have to be just as serious. We've got to be just as serious. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Roz, because she wrote up a banging response, and I don't know if she want to read some of it or portion of it or just paraphrase it, but we've been going back and forth with European daughter who swear, oh God, that she is autochthonous, but her mother's an Albion. Her mother's a lineal descendant. Her and her mother are lineal descendants of colonizers. Autochthonous says that you're the original people here even before colonizers. And she went and got one of them DNA tests done. The first one didn't give her what she wanted, so she went and got a second one done, and the second one said she's autochthonous based on her father's blood. So I asked her to explain to me how the semen became blood, because I can tell you the blood from the woman. I know, I'm a woman. But tell me how the semen of a son became blood. Can't do it.
For the record, we have no blood for the record.
Thank you.
What
Thank
you mean in the semen? Let's make that clear.
Son has no blood. But see, because they get into your ego, and this is called manipulation. This sister is the rooster coming home to roost, because didn't I say, Roz? I said this is going to be a problem, because we all must comprehend true biology. This European daughter is using everything she can pull out of the air to convince myself and Roz that she is a Moor, while using language that affirms that she is what her mother is. But no, we're going to throw mother out because she got her daddy blood.
Right.
How that happened, I don't know. That's a scientific miracle.
And quick interjection, before Mother Roz goes in, just to put it on the record that this has nothing to do with teaching hate. This has nothing to do with disliking Europeans or we're trying to keep them out of something or whatever like that. Europeans have to recognize that they have their quote unquote nationality.
Yeah.
Right? Those family crests that go back to dark skinned people are relative to dark skinned people. Like only. Right?
Well, you can't even say
that
dark-skinned people anymore. You can't say dark-skinned people anymore, because this sister clearly got some shade. She got some shade, but she is determined that it's all. And this is what I say: you got to keep it on bloodline. You got to keep it on bloodline because bloodline can never tell a lie. It don't matter what arena you find yourself in, the bloodline will be your saving grace. It's always about bloodline. If they can get you away from the bloodline, then they can swoop in. I'm not just talking about this European daughter, because we had a conversation earlier today about a sister whose home where they was trying to snatch. And because, you got people out there trying to scare people once again away from the Constitution, the supreme law of the land, using this whole trust issue, all right? It's not going to save you. I can tell you, I know quite a few brothers that did the trust thing. They out on the street because it ain't about a trust. It's about the bloodline. And I told her, like I'm telling people tonight, stick with bloodline because none of these colonists or lineal descendants of the colonists have us over you when you bring it bloodline to the table.
That's right. That's right. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. So, but I'm with Cujo and making it clear. This is not about hating my Europeans. I'm going to tell you, it's about what Annie just said. They have been and will continue, even at this apex that we're at now, to try to cheat your stuff and supplant themselves where they simply do not belong. You just cannot be there. Like, for instance, this person said, I am autochthonous, indigenous, paleo, aboriginal to the Americas. Well, who told her? Where did she get that from? Because you can't be a paleolist and then say you're aboriginal. But see, this is the stuff that they're coming up with. And the reason, you said it earlier, is that, look, the history is there, all right? So for us, we wouldn't even really bring this up except for this hit hard in that, divine law governs all events. And it so happens that this came up at this time, and we were having a conversation, and what happened was, just not unlike Moor, in their efforts to try to, make themselves comfortable or claim, what they call claiming their nationality, what they call correcting their status, and they don't have an L or a they nowhere, so you ain't correcting jack. This person also, and there's others, put another extension after her ill or her bay, and she corrected the papers herself. So, but that wasn't so much the point. The point was is not only did she do that, right after she did that, just to give you the climate of what's happening, another modern European male, somebody out there gave him a card. I think he's a true agent. Gave him, because he had made contact with us and we did not know. We was just sharing. See, information is information. Fundamental principles don't change. It's just let's share them. But we didn't know who he was until it was time for him to establish his proclamation and nationality, and then he had to send his photograph, and he looked just like a caveman. Am I correct? And he face and hair and everything, right?
And he looked like a motorcycle riding member of the Hell's Kitchen bicycle group. And he's look now.
I don't got nothing against motorcycles. My daddy rode a motorcycle, Harley Davidson, the best out there.
Right,
but I know.
Hell's Kitchen, everybody knows the Hell's Kitchen bicycle gang is wannabe Aryan race people.
Right. So this is why we said we got to do this, because we had a sister, the divine law of the climate. And this isn't the first time we've had to deal with this, but it's getting heavier now and the reason it's getting heavier is because what's on the table today is nationality, period. And as Cujo just said, these modern Europeans realize they got to, confess. This is a time when everyone must confess their own. And I'm telling you that these modern Europeans do not wish to do that because they want to be the nationals of this American land, which they cannot be. They are not aboriginal to any portions, really, of the land, but they don't want to give it up. And here's the truth. When the prophet said you must honor your mothers and fathers, all right, he wasn't just talking about Moors. He said he came to us because we needed him the most, but he's talking about everybody because his information is universal, okay? He came to us because we needed him the most. It's a point now where they have to do the same thing. And by them doing the same thing, if they say, well, Irish just said, oh, well, all right, well, this is America. So you're not, we don't even need them to say that to know that. It's posted everywhere. It's in history. It's documented. We're now finding out, so everybody, y'all got to keep up now, that they're the original slaves, the Slavic. We didn't know that. We was all caught up in our little ball of confusion about these lies that were told, this mental slavery that the prophet said, I'll come to take you out of. But now we find it out. We go to Ellis Island, it's posted and stuff. We go and read books, the books that you're reading, it's documented. You know, we read the Intercatava Divina, it's documented. Hell, when I first started this, I just looked up in the encyclopedia and found I looked up North American exploration. It was in there that they found dark melanated people. It's not really hidden. It's just that the curriculum agenda that was given to us in these school systems did not include it. That's why the prophet said again, and I take every opportunity to say what the prophet said and why. That's why he said every temple must have a school. This is why. So the stuff you're learning now and everybody's saying they're finding out on the internet, on RVBey publication, on wherever you're finding it, that's the stuff that should have been in the minds and heads of our children or us as children a long time ago. But it doesn't change just because we don't know it. The only thing that can happen is if we don't get with it and start documenting ourselves, we will be further, our children, the young and yet unborn, will be further and further and further away from the truth, and that's why we do what we do. All right, and that's why you are doing it too. That's the reason, because truth doesn't change nor pass away. Imagine another 20, 30 years from now, 50 years from now, the generation of your children trying to cipher through to get to the information that we just pulled, and you go places, and now they trying to take that information off of their postings and stuff. Some of it can never be removed, but still, imagine how much further away they would be. So any work you're doing, know that it is for posterity. And that's exactly what the law of this land says. Listen, this is for posterity. That means your children's children forevermore. So get with it. Get to enforcing the law like you're supposed to, like you've been instructed to, and like the Prophet Noble Drew Ali definitely instructed to do. And because through that journey, you shall find your salvation for yourself and the people, period, because that leads you to everywhere else, and then you'll know the law. So, for instance, I do want to just go over what I wrote back for understanding, but I just told you, how can one be autochthonous, indigenous, paleo, and aboriginal? To the Americas, that's an insult to all of us. That's an insult, but that's them trying to supplant themselves. They've been doing it. So, what happened is wanting to get a card and wanting to do all these things, and, I don't have to go through the details, but divine law had it come out so that we were having a conversation with sister, and that's when we were trying to understand why she was doing certain processes, right? It was some process she was doing. Like, why are you doing that? All you got to do is really just, that's when we found out. Oh, and we both said it at the same time. Oh, you're European. Oh, all right. Well, that explains that, And he had said it before, that the stuff they've tried, they thrown it in the trash, and a lot of Moors are picking it up. Like, for instance, putting colons after their name. They send applications in here with their name, with their appellation, and then the colon, and then the this, and then the colon. That's not a process for us. That's a process for them. Yep. So, yes, I'm rejecting the card. That will not go on these Aboriginal indigenous cards. It's not going to happen. All right? So, that's their decision.
And for, quick interjection again, just for background's sake, people studying and all that, keep in mind that this whole idea of the colon, semicolon in the quote-unquote name concept comes out of David Wynn Miller, who was a European that was out here doing his, I'm a European that knows something about whatever, come follow me, pay $1,500 for my classes and stuff like that. So,
all right.
People just pick things up, not knowing the foundation. And keep in mind, this is divine first. So when you start, keep in mind with the movie with Vin Diesel when he was the warlock that couldn't die, and there was something going on with a plane malfunction or whatever like that. Come to find out, it was bad weather causing the turbulence. So they're about getting ready for a plane crash. He realizes that there's a little sister warlock on the plane that has these 3 particular crystals in one sachet, which is causing the thing going on outside. Right? So he does his little magic, sprinkles little stuff, separates the thing, and once he separates them, then guys clear up and everything's good. Everybody's cheering, gives thanks to the pilot who did nothing. Right?
Yeah.
So saying all that to say that when you have all these warped elements together, you're bound to have imbalance. Right? Certain things don't go together. Certain like if we're saying that this is birthrights, then certain things automatically don't apply to it. Automatically, as soon as you try to impose that fraud into the reality of birthrights, you didn't taint birthrights, because you can't taint that, because that's bloodline. But guarantee you're going to get some stuff on yourself that you're probably not going to know how to deal with. Right? So remember that this is divine. So things that you might not have heard Moors talk about, that in your research you find out, it better be divine if you're going to apply it to everything else you've been studying relative to Moorish nationality and birthrights. If it doesn't fit, you will damage yourself.
Yes. Yes. And that is just the truth. And I think that's why they still coming hard at him. They're like, let's see if this one really knows what he's doing. We have so many examples of that. So many. Too many. So, wow. So, again, make a disclaimer. This is not a hate thing. This is a thing where it is time for everyone to confess it out of their own tongue, to confess their own. That's all that it is. And these modern Europeans refuse to do that and want to take your place still after all of this information. So now mind you that this woman told us that her mother had the RH factor blood. What more need we say? But unfortunately, who is that breathing heavy? Oh, okay. Unfortunately, this is what I had to write back. Now, I want y'all to listen, because I'm not using any names here, because that's not what's important. It's a lesson, okay? They came back, and they still want to be Aboriginal and autochthonous and and paleo at the same time and all this, when it is known they're not. So when they came back with their response to our conversation, and really still refuse to honor the fact that the condition of the child is absolutely based on the mother, and that's in all law, nature's law, God's law, all law, national, international, and including in the rights of indigenous people. I just wrote back and said, you are studying the law, right? National, international, and nature's law affirm that you are what your mother is. There are many maxims and law maxims and support. The rights of indigenous people. Now, hold on, y'all. Let me interject. I forgot to add this. This being, and there's a whole lot of modern Europeans that are working with quote-unquote indigenous people. And they're just they're just putting, doing that work, and that's a good humanitarian thing to do. I'm not knocking that at all. But mind you, they're working with indigenous people and trying to be not just indigenous but Aboriginal too. Well, you can't be that. This is where the what do they say? Where the what does it say? Where the road meets where the rubber meets the road here. This is where we are. So nobody was even talking about Aboriginal as it pertains to us. We weren't talking about indigenous as it pertains to us. Before. Now we get it. So here they come wanting to have it too. In fact, that's why you find on all of these so-called, Indian reservations, you don't find nobody with no brown skin. And we showed in our presentation at Delaware, June the 2nd, all these photos of us. And you can research and find them yourself. And we're melanated people, or the Aboriginal peoples of this American land, period, end of story. And if they found somebody here that when they came and they found dark melanated people, how do they become Aboriginal? It's an impossibility. But since we're finding that and we're doing that and making our claims, here they come wanting to supplant themselves. So, so I went on to say, so the rights of indigenous people also affirms that the condition of the child is based on the condition of the mother. This is not our personal opinion. Now, as a woman, why would you resist that? Question mark. You may be indigenous, but you are definitely not Aboriginal. Your mother, of which you never have said her nationality, but she did tell us that she was European. Did she not say that, Anna E? Didn't she say that? Now she's trying to say she didn't say that. Didn't she say that her mother was Albion?
I'm sorry, I had my phone muted. She is right in her second rebuking of what we told her. She says, and although my mother is of European blood, my daddy's blood will not be denied or ignored by you.
Yeah, right. But then she said, another one said, I never told y'all that she was that. She also told us her mother had RH factor, so that tells you everything. But anyway, because, see, listen, if you have a European with RH factor, for all you sons out there that mate with modern Europeans, if you have this experience, we're going to tell you why. Because I know many of them that this has happened to. The modern European daughters have the RH factor, and if you mate with them, it will literally kill the baby. Now, that tells you everything you need to know. So,
their eggs, not anything that you're bringing to the table, right? Yeah.
And what do? Give them medicine to keep that from happening. Why?
That's right.
Just so they can have a baby that the egg is trying to kill. It's crazy, but she wants to believe that it's the Moorish son, something in the Moorish son's sperm that's trying to kill her mama's egg. And so that's some crazy, crazy talk right there. A lot of people are losing their mind, including modern Europeans, especially modern Europeans right now, because you got to understand the status in which they thought they had. It is coming to their attention and consciousness that you don't have that. So you can only imagine. Did you think you're going through an exorcism and a baptism, and you think, I'm talking about Moors, you think you're coming through some consciousness level? Guess what do you think they're coming to? See, you've got to understand what's happening. So, and when the prophet told you to stay in the house and have enough food for 3 months, it's not necessarily because it's you that's going to be out in the streets with the blood. It's them. Trust and believe that. And you're going to have to stay out of the way because they are pissy mad because they refuse to honor their mothers and fathers as well in the proper manner that is before them, putting them in a position, putting us all in a position where we are forced to make these changes. Again, I reiterate, the prophet said I'm universal. What I'm talking about is universal. But I only came to you Moors because, dang, it was clear to me you needed me the most. You're not even honoring your mothers and fathers and yourself at all. And there's reasons for that because there's someone trying to steal your birthright. Come hear the truth about your nationality and your birthright. All right, come and link yourself back to the family of nations, all right, and take your place amongst the affairs of man. This is a very good time. If you've done any of that at all, you are in pretty much a good space. But if you haven't, you could be losing your mind right now, and there's a whole lot of modern Europeans losing that, all right? And what we're sharing with you now is proof of that. So it says, I said to them, your mother, you are not Aboriginal, and neither is your mother. In the email you said that she or you are Albion Paleo. Our paperwork says it's for those who are Aboriginal, which automatically will make them indigenous, of course. But one can be indigenous, but that does not make them Aboriginal. So our card says the same thing. Now, there's American citizenship. You can be American citizen of a rank, yes. But Aboriginal American, no. And then I gave the definition of American. Now, I know everybody listening should have that definition, but I'm going to read it. An Aboriginal, or this is the definition of American, an Aboriginal, not an indigenous, an Aboriginal, or one of the various copper coast natives found on the American continent by the Europeans. This is the original application of the name. So when we went to Ellis Island, and they admitted it right there, they did not say that when they got here they found indigenous people. They said they found the natives, the Aboriginal natives, natives being not American natives, what they have classified that as, but the people here, and they were over 200 cultures. So if they found us here, how the hell could they be Aboriginal to it? See, so for this person or any person to resist that logic, that fact, and that logic, that reasoning, and that fact, something's wrong with them. And that includes any Moors that are trying to resist that, okay? So I went on to say, so whether they came as original Slavics, now this is the history portion you need to listen to. So whether they came as original Slavics under the British, of which they declared their independence from the British in 1776, after being under servitude, working at plantations, fur trapping, etc., for the British. And after the first meeting with the existing Congress on September the 5th, 1774, at Philadelphia. See the Articles of Association. I gave references. Or if they came after their foremothers and fathers gained said independence by way of the Almoroccans, Americans, Almoroccans, via the treaty and then the Constitution, which is for everyone on this land. And let me just add, nobody can show proof anywhere that the British ever freed them. We did. See the letter from George Washington to the Sultan of Morocco, thanking them for the same. Their lineal descendants also found their way via Ellis Island by the droves. And there's a picture in the congressional records of that, where they are in the first ghettos or living in squalor at New York. So their lineal descendants also found their way via Ellis Island by the droves to this land where they occupy or use as free people, unlike their foreparents. Now, I just want to add this to Annie, because we were talking about mortgages and property. We said occupy or use. Anything they have is for the use of the land, not the ownership, not the ownership of the land. People need to get that because it can't be bought through the transfer. So all the paperwork they have where they think that these people own the land, our Moors need to know that that's just use, grant. What are the three things, honey, that they do?
Charter, grant, patent, and mortgage.
Deed. Yeah, and deed.
Oh, deed, yes.
Written deed. All of that is use of the land stuff. It's not ownership of the land. You know? So their lineal descendants found their way via Ellis Island by the droves to this land where they occupy or use as free people, unlike their foreparents. As a whole, The biggest concern was to do commerce, not to make commerce out of the natural people. And I'd like to also say that's why Moors, y'all need to stop trying to do these commercial process without the foundation of law, because they were here to do commerce. You will not get your salvation through anything that has to through commerce and commercial processes. And that is why the prophet said, 14th Amendment, no. It's not necessary for the salvation of the people, because all that stuff that y'all are doing with that commercial process comes out of the 14th Amendment. So if the prophet already told you there's no use for it, no need for it, then you shouldn't even be delving in it. But anyway, moving right along. Am I right?
Yes.
Absolutely. So I go on to say, there is no proof that the British ever set them free to this day. So under British law, of which they will and are recognizing today, is not American law. Some may still be or think that they are still enslaved. Isn't it something how the tables have turned down to Eve? You know? Yes. And what are they doing a lot now? Our Moors are talking about English law or British law, because British is really the brutish Moors, but English is the infiltration.
Right.
Okay,
that's
so
right.
they're kind of, right. Aren't they using a lot of English law? You see some rich from our Moors talking
hybrid
English law.
Yes.
That is not supporting or enforcing the American National Constitution at all, not even a little bit. You're still in the mindset of these people if you're doing that. For real. Mm-hmm. So a lot of modern Europeans are there, of course, because they were under the charter. And they don't realize that okay, all right, let me just finish reading it. They may think or still think that they are still enslaved. Thus, the enforcement of the organic American National Constitution is the remedy, as you may know. This is not a matter of opinion, and there is no place for agreeing to disagree. These are facts in history and law, as history and law cannot be separated. These facts, of course, were not openly told to either you or me, including many others who are considered educated with degrees. And at that point, I would like for everybody to read Religious Controversy that the prophet wrote in the Moorish literature or the Moorish Guide, because he explains that about the educated ones. They're fooled right on. And when the story is told by these Europeans, it is told from the Albion's perspective only. That is what. Now, isn't this what the indigenous people forefront currently are all about telling the truth? So how are you going to say you are working with indigenous people and you're not, and then try to be what you're not? Like, how can you say that? So, we know that they found dark melanated or copper complexion people because it is documented, as well it is documented, The maxim of law that the condition of the child is the condition of the mother puts an end to any arguments, any debates, or discussions regarding the same. When you do that history, they may talk about being in seats of, modern Europeans may talk about being in seats of nobles. They also show that on TV, but you got to know the difference. And the reason they do this is because they only go back to the Moorish sons who they made it with, and they leave out the moral-bodied women. That was/is their attempt to transfer the ancestral state to these foreigners, Albion. Yet, the inheritance cannot be bought through the transfer. So that does not give her, the Albion woman, the inheritance. Thus, this is some of the fuel for the revolution of the DAR, which are the doctors of the American Revolution. Not the mothers, the doctors. So we know that the heritage is about tracing her age. It's very simple. Anyone who refuses to accept that is really in dishonor of their mother. Many Moors are in dishonor, even though it may be originally due to miseducation. The facts do not change, and they are still to this day national and international matters. Clearly, well, I'm not going to say, I mentioned, I'm going to leave that out about obviously you're not really interested in this because you took the ill obey and put some other extension on it. Okay. So we reminded her that what you did with your paperwork and making some other affidavit which negated, and I would like for you to explain that in a second about how people take the take the proclamation and judicial notice and then go take it and then go and do another, which is an affidavit or lawful notice, and then go do something else and totally negate it. But before you do, I did say to this daughter, Albion, this is your choice to do these things and alter your proclamations or alter your position in written form and submit something wherever you wish to. However, there is no need for you to be terribly upset. Or how can you be any more upset than we all are in finding the truth? I call it the exorcism that must come before the baptism in the waters of knowledge of truth, as truth is the light, and I trust it will shine your way as you continue with your sojourn. Now, lastly, I made sure she knew that her finance was returned to her, and I thanked her for her interest and activity, and I told her there must be many people that thank you for your works with assisting the indigenous efforts and having the continuity to assist with matters of pre-invasion of those foreigners who were colonists who later became Union States and Republic States known as the United States, who admittedly posted at Ellis Island, found over 200 cultures that were already here, and they were not Albion, nor were they Paleos. They were Aboriginal indigenous families of the same nation. Islam. But before you explain that paperwork, that's it. There's nothing else to say. But they did come back with another letter because let me tell you why. They refuse to accept this truth. I'm telling my brothers and sisters, and especially these sons, be very, very, very careful. These women, these Albion women, is on you to try to steal your mama's estate, bro. I'm telling you. They on it, and they have a disregard, and they're scared too, but they have a disregard, and they want to say that because their daddy is the Moor, that makes them. No, it does not. It's mama. That's national and international law, so sons, be very careful. I'm not telling you not to have, do what you do, but be very careful as you walk through this sojourn of what's going on. And I want to say this. There's another Albion male that also came on the scene, and just last night I had my last transmission with them, and I said, what is this? We got an Albion sister that's trying to take this stuff. We got this Albion brother right here. We both had to deal with him, and we didn't even know we were dealing with him at the same time until then we found out. Because listen to this. This brother, this Albion son right here, he used different names, different numbers, different emails. He moved just like an agent. So I had to find out through Anna E. when she gave this name. I said, well, is that him? I said, oh, shoot, I didn't know that. He submitted something with so and such. Well, I found out last night when I went to return all his stuff because he called and said that he was going to report me to the World Court in the United Nations for denying him his allodial position. This is a modern European, you hear me? And I wrote him back. I said, well, you go ahead and you do that, and you will find out, just like the modern Europeans did in South Africa, that they are not aboriginal to the land, so they don't have a claim. I'm not denying you nothing. You're denying yourself by not honoring your mother. All right? Whatever that nationality is, because we had found out. He gave us what her nationality, I can't remember it now. And we told him, well, no, this isn't for you. This is for aboriginal. And he gets very, very upset. Very upset. They're getting upset, and they're going to report me and all that. So then he sent me something, and I want to share this because it was a picture of a nationality card that looks very much like ours, that somebody went out and copied ours and made some changes. It's really ratty looking, too, by the way, I must say. And it has the Moorish flag, and then it has this, I don't know what flag this is, Cujo, maybe you know. It's red, black, green with the six-pointed star. Is that the Hebrew Israelites or something?
Probably something relative or some ancient black order or something.
Black order or something, but not a flag of a nation.
No.
No. Okay, thank you. And see, we need to get that clear. There's banners and there's flags. There's a flag that represents the nation, which represents the people. That's why it's a red flag with a 5-pointed green star. Okay, so now that's the flag of the people. of the nation of people. Now, and there's many family names, quote, what they say tribes, that come underneath that. But we got people trying to make some of these family tribal, quote unquote, tribal names nations. There's only one nation. But anyway, it says on it, allodial Aboriginal American National Identification Card, substantive indigenous birthright. Now we have a substantive birthright. So they altered it a little bit, all right? And they got to be careful about using indigenous, my people, because these modern Europeans are coming in through the indigenous, but they're not Aboriginal, all right? So they're tricking you again. If you're Aboriginal, you're automatically indigenous. There's no claim higher than that. I mean, ab means coming down from, not something that's abnormal. No, it's a whole different meaning. Go see the etymologist on that. Coming down from what? From spirit, man, or mind, manifested in the flesh. That's what it is. Mothers and fathers, lineal descendants of the mothers and fathers of civilization and civilization principles on the entire planet. Okay, so then they gave this European a card, and they have on it his appellation. I'm not even going to say what it is. And then it says ancestral state, Northwest, and I think it said Africa. He whited Africa out because he only wanted the part that said America. So now this modern European that got a card from, with his picture being as paleo, alien as possible, and he ain't even hiding the fact. It's just like the guy on Facebook was saying we never gave him his card, and he admitted that he was a troglodyte. Okay, we don't have a card for troglodyte. We may get a card later because we're working on one that says American citizen of whatever descent, but we haven't done that yet. We're trying to keep the modern Europeans from trying to steal our stuff yet. I mean, that's not why, but I'm just saying. We got to be, all Moors have to be clear about this first. Anyway, they gave this son a card, and he sent a copy of this to me, and he swears that this is what he is, but it's altered. It has this flag on it, this banner, like you said, of some order, you know, and the Moorish flag, and then it's stamped with, looks like the Great Seal. I can't tell what's on it. It's a bad copy, but so he thinks what happened is he came to us and was like, no, we're not giving you a card. So I believe he's an agent, or he's crazy, or he's both, And so since he can't break through the shells, he's going to report us. But report us to who? You know, and that's the last thing I want to say. The daughter that I just read the letter. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The last thing I wanted to say to add to this. The daughter that I just read this letter to, that I wrote to her, I want you to know that she came back and said to me, now mind you, a minute ago she's down for it. As soon as she knows that we're not breaking, you know, the wall for this, right? She says, well, now all of a sudden we ain't a nation, we ain't nothing, we not recognized, and this is important. This is my last thing. She says, unfortunately, I had to find out the hard way that the Moors within and outside of the temple, and including the Great Seal, do not have a nation or a government to stand on within the international family, nor regarding crimes of genocide. All right, now all of a sudden now, because she can't get what she wants, we ain't nothing. We don't have nothing, but hold on a moment. How you going to say that? I said back to her, I said, oh, well, no. America most definitely is recognized. Morocco definitely is recognized. I said to her, I said, first of all, we're not a club, and we're not an MHHS institution. And the nation is in the womb of the women. That is the nation, the people. Laws are made around that fact in regards to birthrights, rights of birth, etc. If you do not know that, then all of the other stuff will be what confuses you. And then I said to her that as for the nation being recognized, well, if people do not claim their national status, then it does not exist. However, America is absolutely recognized nationally and internationally. You know, I'm thinking, how dare you say that? But the problem is that the nationals of it, or Al Morocco, right? The nationals of it do not speak up. See, and that's what this whole thing is. This whole movement activity is about. Nationals speak up and answer up to the national constitution. to the national constitution, just like the prophet told you to do. So then I shared with her, there's a difference between the citizens of something and the nationals. They're two different things. And although if it wasn't for the nationals, there would be no need for citizenship, right? So I left this case law with her. Very short. The people of the United States that call themselves resident within any state, they are subject to two governments. One is state, and the other is national. But there's no conflict between the two. There it is right there, my brothers and sisters. There's a national government. You're just not standing under it as the national. But I found it interesting that she wanted to be down until she found out she couldn't be down. And now you're going to come back and slander and talk about we ain't nothing. We ain't recognizing. And look, we recognizing. If it wasn't for us, there'd be no United Nations. What are you talking about?
That's right.
Right, so, yeah, Cujo, I think if you wanted to make a comment, but then, I just wanted you to comment on how people negate their paperwork. But, Cujo, I think you wanted to say something, because I yield the floor.
Islam. What I wanted to add was, now this is where naturalization comes in, where you're giving a foreigner citizenship because they don't have a home. They don't have somewhere to go to. So in order for them to exist, they have to exist under the government that is headed or run by the Aboriginal indigenous people, which in the case of North America would be Moorish Americans and anything Moorish American adhering to the principles of Noble Drew Ali.
That's right.
And that's the job that they were supposed to do. When before this, what we're talking about right now kicked off, which again is prophecy, because Noble Drew Ali even told all these Europeans take their finance out the bank and they listened to him.
That's right.
And because he saved them all this money, they became his prophet too. But don't get it twisted that they were pretending about, they're Moorish American, but they're Europeans. They knew their descent.
Wasn't that the Orthodox temples?
Right, that was one of them. Yeah, that was one branch of them.
Okay.
That took his information and saved themselves with his stuff.
Yes.
They did. Now they did go full blown as even adopting the Bey and El and all that as Europeans.
I didn't know that.
Right? They did go that far. You know what I mean? Like Peter Lamborn Wilson was Hakeem Bey. Was his quote unquote AKA. Right? But the concept was that well, if we're Europeans and we're in America, logically we should be following whoever the head of America is. To them was Noble Drew Ali, based on the program that he brought, based on what he did for the Asiatics. I mean, why would we not want to implement that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what.
If Negro, black, colored people are supposedly lower than Europeans, and they can take Noble Drew Ali's program and be somebody, why wouldn't a European be able to use it and get out of beasthood into at least moving toward godliness?
Yes. Yes.
They might not be God or whatever. They might not be full blown. It's again like another example is Brother Latif Bey, right? Yeah. Like he's European, but I'm gonna call him Bey because he goes harder for Moors than Moors. From my personal interaction with him, you know what I mean? Like he's not coming from the perspective of taking some birthright or whatever. He's on the perspective of I know that the Moors are giving me the authority to exercise like this. I'm not a European exercising as this in secret. Like I'm a European letting you know, whoever I engage, that, hey, you guys are going to have to deal with the Moors if you mess with me. Like the Moors gave me jurisdiction as you know what I mean, a son of them. As a son of them, I have the power that Dad has on some level. But again, it goes back to the thing, recognize your foremothers and forefathers, then you have the power.
Exactly. There's no dishonor to that.
Perspective. Yeah. So these Europeans who use quote unquote Moorish birthrights and get out of situations where it works, it's because their perspective is that they honor their foremothers and forefathers who are European, and because they know that this is a colonial operation happening in America, they want to align themselves with something that's not a colonial operation, because they know that equals slave trade. That doesn't mean go back to Europe and then live under the kings of Europe in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
That means if you have no home, you're stateless. Under international law, you're going to end up wherever you end up if you're stateless.
But that's right. But let me say this, though, because I want to be real clear with this. Latif is really not a bey. That's the Bailey with that.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He knows he's not a bey.
All right. Yeah. All right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
He's not. But he knows that in order to talk how he's talking, he has to be a bey. You can't talk like that with. Like you can't say, especially if you're dealing with so-called people who took oaths and stuff like that, who know that as a European, you're supposed to be on the oath people's side, stealing the birthright.
Right, I understand his actions are in support of that which you know to be true. And that, and you know,
right.
That's all we're saying to this sister, too. And so now, you know, you might get, like I said, we will eventually come out with a, because they're American citizens, because they came over here to, and make clear, because people don't hear it clear, when you said earlier, naturalization, not nationalization, because there really is no such thing as the process of nationalization is in the mind, but naturalization is something totally different, and that's for those who become clothed with the rights of the sovereign.
No. The naturalization process is not for modern Europeans. The first sentence of the naturalization process, it says that this is for free white persons. It was for Moors who are not originally from this land. This is not their inheritance, but they can come over here and be clothed and protected within the Moorish family here. But their inheritance over either in Great Britain or what they call China or South Africa, and vice versa, because when Malcolm X went over to Mecca, he was clothed in the protection of the Moors over there. But that's not his estate, and they told him that. So the naturalization is not, it was never for modern Europeans. It's right there in the first line of the Naturalization Act of 1790. It says this is for free white persons.
Okay.
So it was never for them.
But they implemented some, I don't know what year it was, and tried to alter or create it. Let's put it, they can't alter that which is. So originally that's what it is, and it still is. But they created some other Naturalization Act, ACT, later on, that they tried to implement for themselves, because they're always trying to implement and supplant themselves, because they are the ones who have no home, nowhere on the four corners of this earth. They were ceded the land in Europe. They were originally, that's why Hitler said, I'm going home to Argentina, which was the modern or corporate name now of that landmass where we had the laboratories, et cetera, in South America. And then they were taken to Europe and ceded land there, meaning useless. You know what I'm saying? But that's the history, and that's the next wave of truth that must be exposed. And you're doing it on the readings of what is it called, White Cargo and some other books where they're admitting that they are the original Slavic slaves by being Slavic. So then that goes into some of the scientific genetic experiments, etc., like that. But that's what we have to all know, and we have to really get that. I had someone tell me today, I don't want to know the history of, and I'm thinking, poor thing, you sure do need to know the history of, because if you don't, then where are you starting at? On the so-called slave boat? You know that's where, if you start your history on the slave boat, that's where it's going to end, right there. Mm-hmm. So, yes. So yes, originally the naturalization was, that's what a naturalization is. And then, but even unto now, like I said, they altered it a little bit. But even if you look at what naturalization means, it means just what you just said, even in its definition in the Black's Law. You're not, this isn't your home, period. But you're brought into citizenship. And that's why we're saying citizens of a certain rank, yes, but Aboriginal, absolutely not. And it is really, it's not upsetting to us because we understand the dynamics of this. It's very upsetting to most modern Europeans, you know, that they would even try to take their place as an Aboriginal. That is just, that is like, okay, Moors, if you're listening, they have gone too far. You know what I mean? Gone way too far. Take your place where it belongs, and like Cujo said, it's about love. It ain't about hate, but it's about truth.
Well, they went too far when they tried to exterminate all the Moors branded Indians. They went too far with that. Today, you go to any so-called reservation, and I guarantee the majority of the people, if not all the people on those so-called reservations, are Europeans.
Yes. But they can't
and many of them have the nerve to put up, because I went to one, they had a banner and it said, this is the Paleo Indian. There is no such thing as a Paleo Indian.
Paleo Indian. Oh, well, that's what this is saying then. Paleo.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is that? What is that?
That's modern European. The Paleo.
Yeah. All right. Wow. Look, they put us on reservations. Now the modern Europeans, their lineal descendants, is kicking us off their reservations and putting themselves there. Oh my God.
Yeah. Now this the European daughter. She is so determined to steal the birthright. Mm-hmm. In her communication, she says, and correction. I never stated my mother was Albion. But then 3 paragraphs down, she says, regardless of what you both may state, the fact still remains. My DNA proves I am Aboriginal, autochthonous, indigenous of the America, and although my mother is of European blood.
See? She just said it.
This is what she said. She said, my father's ancestry and blood will not be negated or ignored. So she thinks that she came from her father's testicle. Oh, and her mother was just the holder of the baby. When science tells us, because I know, had this conversation earlier today, I just want people to just reflect back, because I know if you're on this, everybody had the same lesson. They say in this whole sex education class, they said that every month she is going to drop an egg from the ovary. One month it'll be the right, the next month it'll be the left. And that egg is going to come down the fallopian tube and sit in the uterus. The key word here is egg. Now, science tells us that when a chicken lays an egg, that is a full-fledged chicken. It is creating its own kind. The female, it doesn't matter if you're European or Asiatic, you came here with those eggs in the ovary or the baby. So that is the nation that is in her womb. And so, but these modern biology so that they can slide in and transfer that which is untransferable.
Period.
And
period.
That's
and
what
guess what?
This European daughter and all European daughters are doing today. And you might wonder, well, does that work in reverse? No, because the Asiatic mother, she got her own egg. But what they do, Pocahontas, is as soon as she has a child, and their hope and prayer is that it is a son, because they know that the son is not going to have no baby, so that is the end of her bloodline. Soon as they have a son, they kill mother. And then they fear the son who has taken the estate. It really should have been done. I'm going to explain to you why. If there is a son, the estate can't go with the son, because the son is going to take it to another family. They have the potential to take it to another species. Am I telling a lie? No. That's why when so-called Prince Charles of Great Britain decided he wanted to marry Camilla, who is not of noble, supposedly not of noble bloodline, he had to advocate, he had to relinquish his right to be king and all of his estate that was tied to the family. He had to give it up. And that is right and proper, because you're not, inheritance cannot be bought, sold, or transferred. We have to comprehend this. This is not about your personal feelings. As long as you keep it in your personal feelings, modern Europeans will be able to underhandedly transfer the estate, or get the appearance of transferring the estate, until a bloodline is done, and the bloodline's got to go through the mother. Where the blood comes from, it's got to go through the mother. They have successfully altered many people's thinking, and they think that the bloodline goes through the father. As long as the bloodline goes through the father, the bloodline, the inheritance, can be transferred to anybody but a Moor.
Yeah, exactly. Right, because you're right. They did say, and I just saw this, I am Aboriginal because I came from an American Aboriginal father. No, you didn't. And then they had the nerve to say to us, obviously, we do not study genetics. Okay. And then in one of these case flows that she was trying to use, it said it can raise, in some cases, the nearness of blood or kindred, may in some cases raise a use. But anyway.
She's trying, boy. She's trying.
Very hard. Oh, but here's the other thing that got us, y'all. We forgot to say this, and we're not going to say who she speaks. This is what really raised us on this, because we could have had this conversation and have had it. But this woman had the audacity to send us this email transmission and CC 3 or 4 other brothers, Moors, that ain't got nothing to do with the conversation that we was having with her. And that's what really kind of like made us like, wow, she is really trying to cause confusion in the Moorish family, because she actually CC'd. One of them had an English title, so I don't know whether they was a Moor or not, because they had a title in front of their appellation that was English. Then a couple of others that had Bey on the end. I said, now, I don't believe that this modern European daughter is going to have a private conversation with us, and then turn around and return an email and CC out something.
She was effectively trying to run. Let me see. She was trying to run and go tell the son on mother.
And if they agreed with her, then it only proved the point. But we're not saying that they did, and we're not saying who they are. all right? But the fact that she did that is proof of what we're saying to you sons right now. The fact that she did that. Because we didn't have a conversation with them, we had a conversation with her. And then you're going to go and be adversarial, not want to honor your mother, and then want to come here and try to tell us, that you are who we are anyway, and then CC our sons. It's the proof right there of the point we're trying to make, that we are making. She was the epitome of the attempt to supplant and steal the birthright. She represented this week, and then here comes this other modern European son talking crap about we're preventing him from his nationality, and he going to report us to the United Nations because he can't get in sideways either. You know what I mean? We're like, look, whatever. Find out what you need to find out. So I made sure that, we didn't have nothing in here, no finance, no nothing. We didn't give them nothing, and that was that. It's just craziness, This is the climate. Don't sleep on it, all right? Again, honor to all those to help and assist in following humanity, regardless to whether they're European or not, but stay in your lane and be who you are. Honor your mothers and fathers. It is time for you to confess out of your own, confess from your tongue your own as well. That's all we're saying. And don't be coming and then go and do this and then tell on it. Oh, man, that was – and then that was enough, and we weren't even going to discuss it and then we were like, hey, this is a great – sister standing on law conversation, but at the same time, when the modern European son came with his stuff, we're like, wait a minute. But this, okay, this is the time it has to be put out here. It has to be. But can you, I know Liz may have a comment on this as well, but right before he makes his comment, can you just explain to the people right now that when they make their judicial notice and proclamation and then turn around and do some other stuff with it, how they negate it by signing other affidavits. The last thing they did is what stands.
Yes. And I think, I'm not sure if I talked about this last week or the week before, maybe it was even in a win. Affidavit is any written document. All right? Now, I'm going to say it again. An affidavit is any written document. Now, if you send out a name correction and proclamation, and after sending that out, you, because of lack of information, you do anything like I've seen people doing the passport thing. I literally had somebody write me and tell me that they need the name correction and proclamation. They got to get their passport. Now, I'm going to tell you, I tried to explain to this individual the ramifications of that, but they didn't want to hear it. And that is their choice. But if you have a name correction and proclamation and you go and you fill out a passport application, all right, you just canceled out the name correction and proclamation.
Mm-hmm.
And the passport application, it's not that it is the only process out there. There are many. That's why you have to know how to read contracts. Not only do you need to know how to read contracts, you got to know how you have the right to alter these contracts and notate them. Even something as simple as going to the emergency room, they have a consent form, which is another contract. Most people they like, oh, just give it to me and I'll sign it. You never read it through it. And in those consent forms, which is a contract, well, actually it's a contract/affidavit, all right? You're saying in there that you're giving them permission to submit your DNA, tissue, blood, fluids to their research and development company, as well as any so-called federal government. Let me tell you something. There's no federal government that is going to come and demand your DNA. Everything that's happening is happening under municipal power. That's it. Because the feds don't have police power, and neither do the state commission of police. A police only there to protect a corporation. So now, if the feds or the state have police, that's absolutely unconstitutional, because the only reason the feds or the state exist is to protect the people. So we have to be very vigilant in comprehending exactly what these documents are that we sign and send out. And if you've taken your name correction and proclamation to a municipal corporation, and you're having them notated, and you're giving them an original copy of it.
Backdoor birth certificate.
You just did a backdoor birth certificate because the employees, the employees at the municipal corporation is the same people at the vital statistics. The same people. So you just did a backdoor birth certificate. You just registered as property of a municipal corporation. And because here's the thing, you've got to research these municipal corporations and know where they come from. They're not American corporations. They're literally British and or English companies. Every last municipal corporation, at least on the East Coast, practicing English law. So why would you, a Moor, a different species from those colonists, why would you go have them notate any government document? Why would you do that? You just demonstrated that, you know what, I'm not sure if this Moorish thing works, so I want you to sign off on it too. If you sign off on it, and I'll show it to one of your employees, and they see your mark on this government document, they know that I'm really not a Moor. I'm really one of them. That's what you're saying. Why would you go to a foreign species and have them mark your paper? All of these processes that these people that Moors are doing today, modern Europeans was doing that, trying to be free, and at the same time trying to steal your inheritance was the colon in front of the surname. That for modern Europeans, that means that they're a part of a family. Moors, y'all don't have to make that kind of a statement unless you're insecure, can't stand on it. You don't see no Chinese person coming over here putting colons in front of their appellation talking about, I'm a part of the family. Because they know it, die for it. Call one of them, make their family name, try to ridicule their family name. They take that as a personal slight because you just insulted their ancestors. What do? We don't have that same kind of determination. Look, I am so sick of hearing people talking about, well, we've been slaves for 200 years. And it only took 5 minutes for you to know that you was never a slave and you have an illustrious history. You have an illustrious heritage. You need to act like you do.
Listen, wrong to that.
Islam.
Listen, I think you did. Islam, man.
Yes. I just wanted to say this. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. I think that one of the remedies to prevent that type of confusion within people who might have a Moorish father and a European mom, or vice versa, and it's hard to just be like, oh, you're wrong because you didn't listen to Noble Drew Ali. But in all reality, like, he left that remedy that as a pure and clean nation, we don't wish to amalgamate with the pale-skinned nations of Europe. And in situations like this, it makes so much sense, because if you have a Moorish father and a Moorish mother, like, this argument is irrelevant. It's not even an argument. I don't want to say that, but confusion is eradicated. Like, there's nothing to be torn about as far as, well, you know, my mother is this, but my father is that, so I'm this and that. Like, if you have, and this is why you see even today, like, even with the modern species in Asia, they don't marry outside or amalgamate outside of their kind like that, you know.
That's right.
Granted, you always have a small percentage who step outside of family rules, you know, specifically because people do get to an age where they're competent to make their own decisions. But if these principles are installed young, like, it would never even be considered an option, because it's like, and this is example has been used many times, whereas it's like we've seen all of the different species of cats, of birds, dogs, etc. And at the end of the day, like, if a tiger mates with a lion, they say that they might have a disease, or if a raccoon starts humping a possum or something like that, they'll be like, oh, they have rabies. There's something wrong with that. You know what I mean? It's something different about that.
But they don't do that. They don't do that. But what modern Europeans do is take.
But let me finish saying what I'm saying.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, because, I mean, and I know this sounds crazy, but you might have certain dogs in heat, and they'll hump a human's leg. They feel like it. You feel what I'm saying? So it depends on the rationale of the species, that you know, the particular rationale. Prime example, and this goes to show, you know, that there's been such a psychological operation on many levels, and a lot of it is based off of an illusion. And artwork had a lot to do with that, because subconsciously, right, people look at a pale-faced European and correlate that to being God. Through not an actual picture, but a painting that has been circulated through many households, right, from following after idol gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing of. So when Noble Drew Ali left the directive that as a pure and clean nation, you know what I mean, we don't wish to amalgamate specifically with pale-skinned nations of Europe. He didn't say, you know, with the Asiatic family in Asia or the Asiatic family in Africa. He said with the pale-skinned nations of Europe, all right, because a lot of confusion comes in with that in the situation that we're looking at right now. So it's like, when we talk about people, Europeans who are aspiring to be recognized as Moors, we have to understand that this is something that has been going on for a very long time. They've been trying to take on Moorish titles for a very long time. This is not new. If you look on the site, RVBeypublications.com, you have the pictures up there with the Europeans with fezzes on, and just stop there. They actually had L and Bey on their fezzes. And they have collections of fezzes with Morocco on it, Egypt, Medina, all of these Moorish appellations on the Moorish crown. So this aspect of them claiming to be Moors, even down to the word American, is not new. It's a real big identity crisis that we're waking up to this now because we are finding out who we are. Not that, I mean, they've been holding certain history back for a very long time, or been privy to certain things that we haven't been privy to. But again, we're in the age of information. So it's all coming out now, and we're seeing it more clear that, oh, no, we know for a fact you're not an RVBey. But then it's like the social engineering that has been done amongst us, Moors, men and women, or sons and mothers, however you would like to look at that, is so deep-rooted that there's still subconscious hate for each other today. Like, and, I'm not saying who's right or wrong, but the young boy, Kodak Black, just came out and said, quote unquote, I like African American women, quote unquote, but with lighter skin. Now we know African American is a misnomer, but this is that lower level frequency thinking. You feel me? That, yeah, I like African American women, but with a lighter skin. And I'm not mad at him, you know what I mean? But if you really look at that statement, it goes to show you the psychological damage that has been done. Whereas everybody might have their preference, but it's certain principles of nationality that you have to stick to. And without a nationality, people are not sticking to those principles because they are under the impression that, oh, we're all the same, everybody's equal and all of this. And that's an illusion. That is definitely an illusion. We are not the same, and that's self-evident. Even when you correlate that with the aspect of being a quote-unquote heir apparent, the apparent heir, it's very clear when you look at the definition of American, all right, and we can see what's what. So at the end of the day, if we're not intentionally or willingly, shall I say, mixing with the pale-skinned nations of Europe, these are never things to worry about, period. Like, this doesn't come up. Unfortunately, that has happened. I look at it now and I see that they have kept or preserved hereditary organizations, meaning that, they have certain institutions for the pale-skinned nations of Europe specifically. So, like, Daughters of American Revolution, they got the Lions Club, they got the National Society of the Colonial Dames of America, which goes back to those Europeans who claim to be proud of having ancestors who came to live in the Americas before 1776. So when you look at these societies, the Colonial Dames of America, all of this, they're recognized under the U.S. corporate jurisdiction as having a degree of autonomy for that jurisdiction. Why? Because it's not the same as ours. So when I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, well, they have institutions they could go to if their mother is Albion and, lineal descendants of pilgrims. I mean, they got the Mayflower Society all the way up in Canaan land and all of that. So, I mean, stick to what their ancestors constructed and organized for them, and we do the same. I don't see where the conflict will come in at, but it's like we're not appreciating each other for who we are because we don't even know who we are. And I'm talking about on the grander social problem scale. So, like, you look at our sister Janet Jackson. She had to get, she not that she had to, but it was a European that got her into her culture anyway, as far as, quote-unquote, studying Islam and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got brothers looking at sisters like, oh, y'all ain't about nothing. And then, sisters have their substantive reasons for feeling the same way about certain brothers. And it's like this is where a lot of the inharmonic comes in, specifically depending on what class of people you're dealing with. Personally, I'm never vouching for amalgamating with the pale-skinned nations of Europe. To me, it just causes the confusion that we're talking about right now. And to circumvent that, Prophet Noble Drew Ali did leave holy and divine instructions. Like, that's divinity you're talking about, which still applies to nationality. So the divinity of Americans it has ramifications. Cut out a lot of the, because it gets so specific with the aspects of, who's who and what's what at who out here, and that's the real thing. This very day, 2017, there's some of our own people who don't like us more than the European doesn't like us. Now, the thing about the European, we understand that their position of not liking us is, if y'all wake up, we got to go home. It's a wrap for us. So we're standing on these positions of power as far as the European is concerned. That's the motive, because if they don't, in certain cases, in certain situations, they know it's a wrap for them. I don't know. That's my piece on it. I just think that was made in the Circle 7. Not that it was new, because that's natural law. But it automatically eliminates, confusion like that. Whereas that doesn't even become the conversation of, who's who. And that's not discounting that. No matter what, like we could say right now, Serena Williams is pregnant by a European, all right? But the child is going to come out being a Moor because the mother is a Moor. We know that. We know that for a fact. But what I'm saying
is...
Well,
if that's the case, then it works both ways. Why is it... Right, that's a very interesting point you just made. It's going to be what she is. All children are what their mother is.
Right. Exactly. But look at it, when the child gets competent, this is not just applying to her. It's not an attack on the sister, Serena Williams, or anything like that. But there's going to have to be a heavy education that goes with that, because the child might be torn later on down the road about, whatever the nationality of the father that or the man that Serena Williams invited into the yoni, the child might have conflicting aspects about that, and might be able to walk on, both sides of the field, as far as European societies and Moor societies. And the Europeans have always, in one way or another, wanted to accept or control not Moors for their freedom, not necessarily because of their freedom, but because of what we genetically and divinely bring to any situation. When we're tapped in, when we're coming from alpha stock like that, like Serena, she's an alpha, bottom line. Now, character-wise, I know people could pick at the fact, well, forget her because, she got impregnated by a European male. That's another argument. But with her genetics, her athletic abilities, we're going back into a stock that is rare these days. So, in certain cases anyway, So, I mean, to remove all of that, because it's like, I look at my family and it is what it is, I'm like, okay, well, I don't have any confusion. My mother is a Moor, my father is a Moor. On both sides, it goes back to Aboriginal people of this land. That argument doesn't serve me any good to even be confused about that. But if my father was a European, I would feel somewhat conflicted about, well, damn, do I deny this side of the family? You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy, but like you broke down the biology, that removes the myth and all of those. But what I'm saying is that to totally eliminate that confusion, stick to your kind. It's just a principle in nature. Like they say, opposites attract, and it's like in certain cases, but actually like attracts, because like We pointed out the lions mate with lions, the jaguars with jaguars, tigers with tigers, etc. Until what? They get put in an unnatural environment in zoos, then get a crossbreed, and they come up with a liger, which is a hybrid of a tiger and a lion. So the mixing of different things, it comes from being in unnatural environments. So you be in like let's say we never got let's say there never was any Trail of Tears, or they didn't try to remove Moors from their state back when, right? And say, okay, well, the so-called Lenape, y'all got to go far west, the so-called the Alleghenies or whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
If none of that ever happened, there would be no confusion. But what happened was, with that happening, people became, over time, in unnatural environments that are not really conducive to their DNA and their ancestry. So, they start doing unnatural things in unnatural environments, and that's just what's happening. So, again, it goes back to the wealth and the aspect of being on the land, having access to your ancestral estate, not just claiming it. Yes, that's one thing, but actually enjoying it, and being in it. You feel me? It has ramifications that are prolific. So that's my piece on it. I think that the remedy was left. Europeans been stealing Moors' identity and trying to claim to be Moors for the longest time.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had, who knows? Hold on, let me ask this too. Who knows how long they've been in these institutions with L and Bay on their face? You feel me? It's just that a prophecy has been fulfilled. When Noble Drew Ali said, I'm taking the covers off of all secret societies, well, that has come to pass. You feel me? Now we know what they're doing up in there. Okay, y'all claiming to be L's, Bays, Morocco, getting recognition behind closed doors, but then you coming out acting as if you hate Moors or Muslims and all of this. And remember, too, back in the day, I think it was in the 1600s. It was in the 1600s where they had so-called Virginia, because, so-called Virginia was one of the first, quote-unquote, states to acknowledge slavery in, quote-unquote, law, even though they was dealing with English law. And the first English settlement was in 1607. But they had a statute or a code or whatever it was at the time where you could actually be charged for impersonating a Moor. And you see that was going on often when they used to put Moor mud on their face, and they called them, themselves dressing up in, quote, blackface by using what is technically called Moor mud, all right? So you always had imposters of Moors that are still here today, even feeling in positions of power of government, down to the commoners who just want to be recognized. Like I was with you in your office the other day, and I was walking out, and you had it on the tube, and this European lady was crying about something, and I mean, she was pale as a ghost, talking about she was Cherokee. Feel me? And I'm like, come on, man. Like, American wasn't enough, right? That wasn't enough. Now they have to actually try to claim tribes. So it's like, correlating it back to what you were saying about in the beginning about they actually have nowhere to go, not indigenous to the land anywhere. It doesn't make it right, but you can see the desperation for them to claim identities that are not theirs, So little brother always wanted to aspire to be like big brother in certain aspects. Correlate that to Moors and Europeans. You know what I'm saying? Correlate that. Even back to, if you go back to the story, Genesis 25, when he wanted his brother's birthright. Why? Because he thought he couldn't see. He was going blind, myopia. Feel me? That correlating with not seeing what's going on, this is where they come in and make offers on your birthright or try to get your birthright. So, you know, for that bowl of pottage and things like that. But it's based off of you not seeing, you not being able to see or having the perception. This is where that activity comes in. So we hear MHHS Eyes Wide Open, and we're seeing it for what it is. That's what I'm saying, and I know there's many others who do. So if you're serious about your nationality, you know, then that would have to translate over into your productive aspects of life too. You know, so there's no confusion with the children and conflicting with this, because let's say she's like, well, I'm honoring my mothers and fathers. Well, like you said, the nationality comes from the mother. Like, you know what I mean? That's that process of creation is far more longer in time, our release. So it's like you have to respect the process. Everything was formed in there, and that's what it is. But I think that it wouldn't even be a point to argue if we were sticking to those principles of reproducing with our own kind. That's just my perspective.
And I will say this, Islam, and that is why, to put it into all of it, what we like, for instance, in a reference here of, well, you know, Serena is a Moabite sister and the father is a modern European. Well, to put it into all debate, all arguments, and all discussions, it is in biology, it is in nature, and it is in national and international law. You can feel something for the fact that the father that sparked that egg, whatever, it was a modern European, and you can have some social empathy, compassion for that side of his family, if you want to, and all of that. But the truth of the matter is, and the matter of the truth is, the nation is in the womb of all women, and the nationality comes from your mother. Please accept that. You must accept that. That is why in national and in international law, the condition of the child is based on the mother. No disrespect to the quote unquote father, quote unquote husband, quote unquote son, brother, whatever. It is an end to all argument. And if we and this is what we must accept, and this is why it is there, so that there is no discussion. Sure, feel for the fact that, you know, your Moabite mother may have mixed in and mingled in, as we were saying, with this modern European family, because that's what it is. And if she mixed in with a modern European son, he is what his mother is. That's what he is, and that's his family. And if she mixed in with it, fine. But that does not mean that the child is what the father is. The child is what the mother is, and nationality-wise. Period. No more discussion, debate, argument, nothing. Done. And then we can move on from there. And that's why that is what that is established as such. So it's not that. And I don't know if you want to take any calls, because it's already, almost 4 o'clock. And I don't know if there are any callers.
It's 10 minutes it's 10 minutes to 12. We can take a few callers and just close out with a call. But the bottom line is this: as long as we have Moors who do not comprehend true biology, our family estate, as it already is, will slowly be transferred to a European species, for the simple fact that there are Moors who just refuse to accept the fact that it doesn't matter if the mother is Asiatic, it is her egg. It's her egg. Came here with it, and for that reason and that reason other, you don't see no rooster trying to lay claim to the hen egg.
Hell no.
In the animal kingdom, in no other species but the human species, is there a debate over whose egg it is.
It is.
There's no other species on planet Earth that has this confusion except the human species. And that issue is absolutely by design, and it has been perpetrated to transfer the estate slowly but surely from the true heirs to the colonizer. It doesn't matter who you're having sex with. It ain't about sex. Eggs. Let's not get all muddy up the water. He's sleeping with a European daughter, or she's sleeping with a European male. It ain't about that. It's about whose egg is it. That's it. Whoever the egg belongs to, that's the nationality and the birthright or lack thereof of the child. And we got to get that straight, or we will not only be out on the street, but we won't have a damn continent to sit on.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And keep in mind, too, that one of the first, quote-unquote, laws that they had to establish with this, quote-unquote, slave code for Virginia was this very same argument. Condition of the mother and the child, slaves and indentured servants, what is the condition of the offspring, or, you know, in certain cases they would say, quote-unquote, illegitimate children, quote-unquote, that. You know what I'm saying? So these were the first things that were established as far as the status of, quote, slaves, indentured servants, and free people. And again, when we went to the museum, it was all right there. You know, all of it is right there on the National Mall. You know what I mean? If y'all don't want to believe any of us, you can go do the knowledge or watch the video, either way. You know, so this is not a study law. That's a maximum international law for centuries now. So it's like you said, it's nothing new. You know what I mean? It's definitely nothing new. It's just that there's been so much war against the law of nature, damages on multiple levels of, quote, consciousness. So from them reversing the waterways, because you got to remember, too, their whole thing is owning flesh or having dominion over certain flesh and elements. You understand? So it wasn't just Moors that was being enslaved. You got to understand, goddamn birds was being enslaved. Mom, am I lying? Am I lying? We went to a plantation. They had a goddamn slave house for doves. You feel me? So it's like the problem is it has so many ramifications. It's so deep that because what? Even in the house that they had for having the birds enslaved, what did it boil down to? The eggs being laid, right? All of these things, you know. So, I mean, you see this on multiple levels. And I'm going to leave it at that because we're going to do some heavy presenting on that this summer. So, certainly look forward to that. And this is a problem that goes beyond just us. We got cows enslaved. You know what I mean? Natural animals in zoos and shit. All of this wanting to own flesh or be lords of the land, quote unquote, because this is what they're dealing with. Lordship, landlords, and it's English law in certain aspects. Because you got to remember, the first English colony was 1607. What are the ramifications of that? Why is it that we're speaking so-called English? There's nothing wrong with it. But we got to understand how that was morphed, because that came out of a West Germanic language, which if you even trace that back, English they consider a West Germanic language. But if you go back, you know that English is a mutt language of every language on the planet. You understand? Like, that's the real truth if you study the etymology of it. So I don't know. It's just an aspect of possessiveness. That's what I wanted to say. You know how they say, oh, this person is too possessive. They possess. Like, their whole shit was possessive. Excuse my expression. But their whole thing was to be possessive, to possess land, to possess people, to possess spirits.
Possess animals.
Animals, cows. I mean, think about this, too. They were so savage, right? And Hamatio pointed this out, that they had to, quote-unquote, make laws that people can't have sex with chickens. Who was doing that type of shit? Excuse me. You feel me? Who was that? In the 1600s. You know what I mean? Like, that's the psychotic things you're dealing with. And again, for them, it went back to who they was having sex with, because when we went to that plantation, Shirley's plantation, said that their family got it through, quote-unquote, marriage. And this is all on the same line with Mataoka, all of that land still today, right? That was in the same area. You know, Powhatan, Opequonachop, all of these people who are Moors, they sitting on all this land through marriage. Okay, so that's legal servitude and that's cheating based off of your social relations and what you think is love, right? Going through third parties to affirm that based off of your relations, sexual relations, and all of this is what you call it, a mind block, if you will, because these things are part of the law of nature, which doesn't need the permission or opinion of men for anything. Period. That's the bottom line. That's mama life, you know. So it is what it is, and you got to be careful with that, because people mix up having sex with love. And
well, you know what? You're talking a whole nother class right there.
Nah, but I'm not, though. I'm really not. It's all interrelated. It's all interrelated. It's not another class. But I'm going to end on that note.
We want to answer a couple of calls, I guess, if they're there. But, yeah.
Well, we got about two people, and we have about two people, and we might have Brother Bakari is on.
Yes, sir.
Ooh, stop. Oh, wait a minute now. Hold on. Jeez. My, let's see if maybe I don't know what happened. Well, I guess maybe we're not supposed to take any calls, because my call log thingy is not working.
Oh, you want me to go in, or by the time I get in?
Well, I am in, and I clicked, but it's like it's not. I'm muting.
Go to another browser. As you tell me, go to another window.
Wow. It's not unmuting me. All right. Well, let me try the other folder. All right. Let's see. Wow. Look at that. It's like it's not allowing me to get in. All righty. Well, we might want to continue our discussion, because I guess we're not supposed to take any callers today.
It won't. It won't
2 minutes to 12. It won't unmute. I'm trying to.
I can try. You can continue, and I'll see if I can try to get it.
That's really wild. I don't know. One of those days.
Yeah, just go ahead and finish. I'll see if I can get in it and do it. It's one of those things.
Well, yeah, I got internet, but I don't know.
They won't let you open any of them?
No. No. I think it's my internet.
try it in a second. I don't have it open, but I'll try it.
Oh, well. Well, if I can't open well, this was a very interesting conversation.
Well, maybe you can call that number and see if you can get them in on. Oh, you can't now, right?
I don't know.
Something is going on. I'm gonna log in and see.
Well, in the meantime, you know what? Yeah. We'll just go ahead and call it a night because I'm not going to be able to, see something.
Mm-hmm.
Something's going on. But I've been having a bit of a challenge with my internet all day, and it has shown its head again. So,
well, maybe Miss can finish about his love story. I'll see if I can get in there while he does that and how it's connected. It is all connected, actually.
All right, let's see. Here, reload. Well, what we're gonna do is, just call it a night. Because we got a lot of, we've been put in a lot of information, and tomorrow we'll have even more information. So, Brother Wakari, I apologize. For some reason, I'm unable to mute, and then we have caller 972-839. I apologize. For some reason, we're not able to open your line, and I'm sure we'll probably
you know what? I
be
just
able
tried
to
get in, and it said something about the engineers have been notified, and we will get this fixed.
I don't even have that. I don't even have that message, but you know what? It's all right. What we'll do is we'll end the broadcast. We'll see everybody back here tomorrow for Moorish Heritage and History School. We will not be at the National Theater. However, we will be broadcasting the class via the MHHS Eyes Wide Open Blog Talk Radio, and we will be continue reading from White Cargo. So make sure and join us. I trust you've downloaded the book or purchased the book and have been reading the book and maybe doing a little bit of additional research and studies that you can, present tomorrow, when we open up the lines for discussion regarding the information read in the book. So with that, I thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to see if we can play this music. If not, well, then we'll just be ending the broadcast. So peace and love to everyone, and thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.